What's up, guys? Barbarian or Bust here. With the new build, we have my old school favorite from Diablo 3, Spin to Win. I love this build. This is basically what I played for all of D3. I didn't care what the meta was. I played Spin to Win. Yeah, so this is my D3 build, and I thought I'd give it a try. Overall, it's not amazing, but it's not terrible. I'm in Nightmare Dungeon 89. I'm going to show that off. Let's go over the build. The Helm of Grasping Whirlwind. One thing I loved about Whirlwind back in the day is when you did ground stop, it would pull everything in, and then you just keep killing everything with the Whirlwind. So this, I like this aspect. It periodically pulls enemies towards you. I do wish it did it more often. Maybe in the future, this would get a buff. I don't know. If it did it like every 5 seconds or something, or that would be huge. For this helmet, you're going to want, in one of the slots, you want total armor, but you want max life, you do want max fury, and you want cooldown reduction. I will say with this build, the only required unique is the Magnum Opus for your gloves, as these are getting a buff. So the ranks to Whirlwind is getting a buff, and the percent damage is going up by 10. So it's going to be like 25 to 35. I feel like this might be best in slot now. So anyway, let's go back here. So this is the Juggernaut. I use the Juggernaut in all my builds now. This is replacing Disobedience aspect. And we don't want the Brawling skill damage, but this is the chest piece I've used for all my builds. I just haven't found a better one. You do want max life. You do want a damage reduction. You want some resistances and another damage reduction or resistance as needed. For our gloves, we do have Relentless Berserkers. So this is one of the main ways that we deal berserking damage. And because with Whirlwind, we don't need attack speed. Crit strike chance we technically don't need, which you'll see in a minute. There's not too many choices, so all stat and strength are kind of the best. Whirlwind does not use overpower. Whirlwind does not use attack speed. Really, crit strike, strength, all stat, ranks to Whirlwind. This is pretty much the best, unless you might want to use something like this with the increase to damage. The lucky hit chance is, you could use it for the Relentless Berserkers, but it's not necessarily necessary. And we have Iron Blood in the Pants. This is a good one I don't have any basic skills in this. So for this, you also want Berserk Ripping, and that's going to proc your Iron Blood. And on here, I needed one more resistance, so I had cold on there. But you want max life, you want a damage reduction, all stat or strength is also good. And on the boots, we want Ghost Walkers. And for these boots, you definitely want movement speed. You want 2 resistances because you want movement speed, but you also want fury cost reduction. We are spending fury like crazy, so you need that fury cost reduction. This build definitely needs that. If you can get it in both places, the boots and the amulet, that's amazing, but you at least want it on one. And for your 2-handed mace, we want to have the Dire Whirlwind. So this is where we have just an absurd critical strike chance. So this is awesome. You put it on your 2-hander and you pretty much critical strike all the time. So if we look at our critical strike here, let's round that up to 40. So we have an 88% chance to critical strike. So basically every hit. So it's super important. This is a critical strike build. And for stats on all of your weapons, you want all stat, strength, you want damage to close, and damage while berserking. If you cannot get damage to close, you could go damage to core skill. And so here we do have Berserk Ripping, and we have that specifically for a couple reasons. One is for Iron Blood, and the other one is for a Blood Rage legendary node, which we'll talk about later. And this is one of my swords that I had from my Rend Rupture build. So I have the vulnerable damage on there, and it's such a good roll. I didn't re-roll it, but you would want that vulnerable damage to be damage to close or damage to core skill. And this is the lovely sword that makes this shine, because when we have so much fury, we deal so much more damage. So of course, Whirlwind is going to be on your dual wield. This weapon is pretty cool. I haven't used it until Season 3, and I am enjoying it. And on our sword, you're going to want to have Edgemaster. So we try to keep our fury up all the time to get that 40x damage. And same here, all stat, strength, damage to berserking, another one, critical strike damage. You could use that instead of damage to close because we are critical striking all the time. So you technically have 3 options for your last slot. You could do damage to close, which is your preferred and your best, and then you have critical strike damage or core skill damage. And in here for your gems, there wasn't too much I could choose. Like you can't overpower. This is not a damage over time build. We get enough life in our other points, which you'll see. So I chose critical strike damage to crowd control enemies because we use ground stomp and we also pull enemies towards us. And because we're critting all the time, I thought that those would be the best. Sapphires would just be the best, but there really isn't a great option besides sapphires. I mean, you could do like the life on kill, but you probably won't need that. And for our first ring, we have bold chieftains, and you do want at least one of the two rings to have critical strike chance and a max one. This overpower damage is useless, but you also have damage with berserking. Resource generation on both your rings is very important, and you also want, again, either damage to close, crit strike damage, or so you could use like physical damage would also be okay. But the three main ones is crit strike chance, damage berserking, and resource generation. And because we have two shouts and everything's close to us, Bold Chieftains is a great option. And our second one is the Ring of Unrelenting Fury. This ring is awesome. So we are always killing enemies with our core skill because it's the only skill we use. And it's always refunding some fury for us. And in this one, we have damage to close, which is great. Damage to berserking, which is great. Max life, which isn't needed. And resource generation, which is awesome. So I wish that max life had have been crit strike chance. That would be the best. And up here, you should be no stranger to this if you watch any of my builds. Necklace of the Iron Warrior. This is awesome. Damage, perfect. Cooldown reduction, perfect. 3 ranks of brawling skills. Less than ideal, but we still use War Cry. This is good, but not best. You would want Fury cost reduction. That's the big one that this is missing. 2 ranks to counteroffensive. That's actually, it's... Take it or leave it. We don't use a lot of passives in this one. So that's probably the only one you could use when you see the skill tree. I'll show you that. Yeah, so the counteroffensive is good. Brawling skills, try to get fury cost reduction. For our weapon expertise, we use two-handed axe because we have the exploit glyph. And let's go look at our little buddy here. So nothing has changed from any of my builds. Flash of Adrenaline with duration support, tactical support, and initiative support. With Tempest, with resource support, this is very crucial. Safeguard support and fortify support. For this build, you want to stay close to him because he gives us a lot of resource. And let's look at our skills. So you start off, put 2 points anywhere. Lunging strike, bash, whatever. Doesn't matter. It's not going to be on our bar. Then we max out our points in Whirlwind. And we take Enhanced Whirlwind. And we take Violent Whirlwind. So we want to deal more damage. The bleed is cool, but it's not enough. If when you see that Berserk Ripping works, and it's not that big of a bleed, so definitely go with Violent. And if you do take Lucky Hit Chance, you would want to put some points into Pressure Point, but we don't need to. And then I take full 5 points to Ground Stomp so we could help the cooldown. The least points you have in it, like the more the cooldown goes up. So you want to max that out. You want Enhanced Ground Stomp, and you want Tactical. This is one of the ways that we get Fury just in case we need it. And we take 3 points in Imposing Presence, and then we take Rallying Cry with 1 point to Enhanced, and then 1 point in Tactical. Very important to take Tactical Rallying Cry, as this is another way we get Fury. Iron Skin, love Iron Skin, and we take Enhanced with Tactical as well. So it's like popping a potion. Actually, now that I play this, we don't actually need to pop the potion because we are spending Fury all the time. So you could go into Strategic and get more Fortify. But honestly, with the amount of Fortify we get and the amount of life we get, you could even take this off and put this anywhere else. Actually, no. Now that I think about it. And down here, we always take 3 points into Swiftness. And we only take actually 1 point into War Cry, but because of our amulet, we have 3 more. And we take Enhanced War Cry. This is one of our ways that we get Berserking in the build. And then we take Power War Cry, so we can get more damage. And we take 3 points into Booming Voice, so our shouts last longer. 3 points in Aggressive Resistance for damage reduction. 3 points in Prolific Fury so we can get more Fury generation. Take 3 points in Pit Fighter. The last point I had actually was Slaying Strike. And if you play the build and you realize that we don't really need either of these, you could actually put that point into Slaying Strike to have 2 points in Slaying Strike. That's actually a great idea. I would recommend that. And down here, we don't bleed. We don't take anything here. 1 point of Thick Skin to take 5 points in take 3 points in counteroffensive. And down here, we take 3 points into Tempered Fury to increase our Fury, and then 3 points into Invigorating Fury so that we whirlwind all the time and we're getting life all the time. This is pretty cool. We max out our Wrath of the Berserker with Supreme Wrath of the Berserker, and we take Unbridled Rage, so our Whirlwind can do as much damage as possible. With our skills, we have to make sure that our Whirlwind is on dual wield. Even though our bludgeoning says it does more, our sword says it does more, but slashing actually does the most because of the magnum opus. So make sure it stays on dual wield. Everything else doesn't need anything. And as you see, that's our only skill that really does damage. I mean, this does a little bit of damage, but not really. Paragon board. So we start off in the starting board with ire, and we max out our ire. We get all of the strength in the board. And I normally go up this side and path to get the max life in the armor, but we're already at armor cap, so we don't need armor. So I decided to go up this way. But you see how you get more damage, less life. If you find you're dying or you need more life, then path up this way. But when you're already at armor cap, just definitely go this way. And we only take these 2 armor nodes is to get this one so we can have more berserking damage. Our second board is Flawless Technique, and we take Exploit. So we only want enough dexterity just to proc Exploit. But over here, you want all of these so we can have more critical strike damage. We want as much critical strike damage as possible. And our last board is actually Blood Rage, and we take Berserk Ripping so that we can proc the killing a bleeding enemy to give us more berserking, as we only have 3 ways of berserking. We have our Blood Rage node, we have our Relentless Berserking, and then we have our War Cry. So this is important. That's why the Berserk Ripping is important. And over here, we take the Carnage board, and we put an Empty Dexterous to get as much damage from close and damage while berserking. We take a little bit of extra damage to berserking and damage to elites up here. Then we move on to Warbringer, and this is where you want to get your max fury. You want all that fury here and all that fury here. The more fury we have, the more damage magnum opus does. And we have Wrath, and you want to take as much dexterity as you can to make this as high as possible, because we are literally critical striking all the time. And our second last board is Bone Breaker, and we take Territorial, and this one you want to max out your dexterity for this board as well, because again, you want to increase that damage to close. We're always close all the time, so this is proccing 100%. And again, your last board is Blood Rage, and that's important right there. As you see, I don't have enough willpower to get this one rare node, where with this one, I do, like I have for every other board. So that's really important. Out of all these nodes, I get all the bonuses, except for that one, which is absolutely fine. So that's the build, and let's show off Nightmare Vault level 89. So I skipped the first part of it just to make it easier to show. But yeah, this is the build I played in D3, and I absolutely loved it. So you get your Fury, you gotta watch out for Poison. So Poison really sucks. As you see, Poison is killing the crap out of us. But overall, this build works well. It is fun. Poison is not cool. Never was. But it doesn't kill thing the fastest. Like this is not like a super high-end game build. But this is still a very fun build. I'm surprised how much I enjoy this build. I'm not gonna lie. And it clears the content pretty well. And we have max fury pretty much all the time. There, we just pulled everything. That was cool. Not the fastest build. This is really just a homage to D3, you know? And even like Wrath of Berserker feels really good. Then you can really just slaughter everything. But sometimes we do need that ground stomp to actually give us fury. So it's hard, because I was thinking if you could do the other one, it actually helps to make your Wrath of the Berserker go down quicker. Let's grab that. But then it's like, when you need fury, will it always be there? But yeah, a really simple build, really fun build. I haven't tried Nightmare Dungeon 100 with it yet, because it's really not as powerful as other Barbarian builds. And as you see, this one also does not use charge. And it doesn't kill very fast on level 89, but we can still do all the content. It does kill everything fast when we use Wrath of the Berserker, though, because you use so much fury. It just goes nuts. See, look at that. So, I don't know. If we use like Flicker Step, but we don't use Evade. If I could find a way to increase my Wrath of the Berserker time, then I feel like this build would just be godly, actually. But you only need the one legendary, or sorry, the one unique for this build to actually work. And I think that's important, because I'm sure not everyone has all the uniques. I mean, I don't have any uber uniques, so I try not to put those in my build, because, you know, if you have one, you're always going to use it, and if you need it to make it work, then I feel like the build isn't always the greatest. Yeah, when I decided to do this build, I wasn't sure how it was going to work, but I'm actually really surprised on how awesome it's working. Minus the poison. You stand in the poison, it'll always kill you no matter what. But as you see, like, we always have full fury for the most part, and we always have full life. And when we use Wrath of the Berserker, it just crushes. So for vaults, this is actually pretty fun. And it's decently fast. So right now we're just relying on our little guy. And then we... Ooh. Alright, here we go. Let's get back into it. Kill this guy first. Oh, poison again. Okay. Here we go. I gotta watch my health bar as I kill these poison guys. There we go.
I need more fury.
So right there, I mean, other builds would be able to do that no problem. So with this one, you just gotta watch what you're doing a little bit.
Don't have enough fury.
This build is more nostalgic at D3 for me than anything. This is all I did for D3. And you know, I mean, it can pretty, like, it can clear tier 89, so we could probably go a little bit higher. But I don't know how much higher I would do it. Just, like, really, because it's not struggling. But it's not exactly, like, a cakewalk, and, like, a lot of builds are much, much faster. But this is a fun, different way to play. I know a lot of people like spin to win. Including myself. And the end, this thing shreds at the end. You pop Wrath of the Berserker and, like, just go nuts. Because you just use so much fury. I popped it a little too soon, but... Fury up, health up. Oh, another death at the end, that sucks. Alright, here we go. Here we go.
Not ready yet.
There we go. There we go. Alright. There we go. So I would say a mild success. Again, this build, I think if you want to do Nightmare Vault, honestly, 85 and below, you're gonna have no problems. If you feel like, you know, Nightmare Dungeon pushing, you're definitely gonna want a different build. But this still fun way to play. Awesome for Helltide, just shreds Helltide as you walk by. Pretty cool. Pretty good for 85 and below for Nightmare Dungeons if you just want to speed farm. But for true endgame pushing, you might want to look elsewhere. You could even try this for the Gauntlet, like, because it'll be level 70, so this would do it no problem, but not the fastest. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed Spin to Win, and I'll see you guys in the next one.